Recently, we have seen a lot of trade happening between Africa and China. And we have come across a few instances, such as the ones in Uganda, where they were saying that the Ugandan government was not able to pay the loan, and China wanted to seize I think, their only international airport. And we had also seen people speaking about the port in Mombasa, which was almost going to be seized by the Chinese because of the loan that China had given to Kenya, and it seemed like Kenya could hardly pay that. Well, now you'd have to correct me with all this. I mean, but yeah, so China is making a huge investment in Africa, and at the same time, it seems as if African countries have put some of their most important natural resources as collateral for the loans that they are taking. Do you think Africa might be heading towards neocolonialism?
Well, neocolonialism is a term that is used very broadly. So one can always say any aspect of dealing with another country is a form of neocolonialism to a certain degree. But regarding China, I'll say two things. Before China became an economic power, African countries and other developing countries depended mostly on Western countries for their loans for development projects, either from the United States, or the European countries, or from the World Bank. And let me use this opportunity to clarify a little bit between the distinction between the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, and then I'll go to your question. International Monetary Fund is usually gives short-term loans. Like a country may find itself really having problems with their balance of payments, and some that they can be fixed maybe within 3-4 years, and therefore they take a short-term loan, and IFM provides that. The World Bank gives loans for big projects, and those loans are paid back in 20 to 30 years. Okay, and before China, you can only go either to the World Bank or to these Western countries to get it. So China has given an alternative. So, okay, you know what? If I cannot get it from there, I can also get from China. And it creates a little bit of competition,
Yes.
Which is good for countries that are looking for loans. That's fine. Okay. Now, so as far as that goes, China, I think it's welcome to be a source of loan. There are many stories about China and why people should be worried about it. You talked about the Entebbe airport and Mombasa, and the story that is written a lot about is the port in Sri Lanka, where China apparently also gave them a loan, and apparently the conditions were, if you're not able to pay in time, then we will actually sort of own the port, and supposedly that happened. But without even talking about the specifics about these examples,
Yes.
for me personally, I don't blame China. It is not their responsibility to worry about our situation. If those things actually happen, it is the and if there is anyone to blame, then it is our leaders, not China. China is doing something for its own interest, and if they can take advantage of it, good for them. I'll say, okay, we have people who can read contracts, who can understand them, and who know what is in it. So we are beyond the time where we don't have our own people, our own experts. Where I say, okay, maybe I signed something that I didn't know exactly what I was agreeing. We cannot use that as an excuse anymore. We have people, very learned people in Tanzania and all African countries, who understand what is in those contracts. So if then we are accepting something that we know is not good for us, the blame that maybe China put pressure on us, I don't accept that. It is our problem. Now, one thing about big contracts, one thing that has happened, they've been very secretive. So people don't know what is in the contract. And you just hear when there is some type of a problem. Now, also, and this is not unique to African countries, there is room for a lot of corruption for big projects. And again, I'm not saying something unique to African countries. The reason is rather very simple. You are dealing with millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. So if you have a corrupt person involved or corrupt persons involved, even if they are promised 0.001% of that to them, it's a lot of money. So again, I have to be very clear. I'm just talking about the nature of those projects. So there is no reason why we cannot have contracts that, yes, could be good for China. There's, again, as I said, these things are not zero-sum games, but also good for Tanzania and doesn't put the country in a very high risk where we start talking about what people are talking about with respect to Entebbe. So I come back to put the responsibilities to ourselves. And therefore, if anything were to happen, if these stories are true, the way they are being told, again, from my perspective, the problem is not China, but us.
It's on us.
Yeah.
And now, here's where it gets interesting. So you said that the problem is on us and that our leaders understand what they're signing into, right? But as how we pointed out earlier, the power with which the president of Tanzania has, right? Well, they have the opportunity to make, decisions that can benefit them, right? And Africa is corrupt, like almost everywhere, right? And the corruption is really, really huge, right? So in as much as they have a huge amount of power, to what extent are we able to hold them accountable for such actions, right? So if for example, they take loans and they don't use them as how they're supposed to be used, right? With the power that they have, do we really have the ability to hold them accountable for that? Because it's the masses that are really suffering.
Well, again, it depends on who is to be held accountable. Now, if it happens, some African leader, and there are African leaders who are corrupt, and in many cases, in those situations, the president has almost 100% power, and therefore they do things with impunity. No one can bring charges against them. But again, that has to do also with the democracy and the power that the other branches of government have. In situations like that, as I said, the executive branch is literally everything. And maybe that would require then the constitution to change, but for that to change, they have to cooperate. And also, very few leaders would accept a change in constitution if the new constitution is going to reduce their power. And so now we get sort of in a catch-22, if you will. But there are checks and balances that can certainly be used. To just use an example, okay?
Yeah.
There's something called government procurement process. Not only just for big projects where you want to build an airport or a port, okay? But even, let's say, you are buying earth-moving equipments, things that you use to build infrastructure, and you're going to spend millions of dollars to pay them. There are, and this certainly, I know it is in Tanzania, we have it in Tanzania. There are processes where people who want to sell you that make a bid for that. And if it is done in a truly competitive way, and you as a buyer, you know the qualities of what it is that you are buying. So you are actually able to make comparisons. And sometimes this can be blind bidding, so it doesn't, but sometimes can be open. And and this is actually something I've studied a little bit in my second book, which was Africa and the World Trade Organization, because the World Trade Organization was trying to have an agreement with respect to government procurement, that all countries agreed to certain policies.
Yes.
But a number of developing countries didn't want that, and therefore it never happened. It is just a group of countries that have their own agreement. But those are processes that can put checks and balances, which you may not be able to eliminate corruption
Completely,
altogether,
yeah.
but it certainly reduces significantly. I would say we can talk. You know about Uganda. Rwanda.
Yes,
Rwanda.
yes.
Rwanda has been very successful in fighting corruption. If you look at corruption perception index, this is something that is produced by a non-government organization. Rwanda has improved significantly in the last 10, 15 years. Again, I'm not talking about the leadership, the political part of it, but just in terms of the practice part of it.
Yes.
So it can be done by building good checks and balances where someone with authority to check actually also have authority to report and will feel comfortable reporting
Doing
the
that.
truth. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are correct. Rwanda, and I was also reading your book, and I think these statistics were, in 2015,
Yeah.
and out of the, now we have increasing number of East African countries, but Rwanda was the first one, and then followed by, I think
Botswana is.
Botswana. I'm speaking about East Africa.
Oh, yeah, but
the East
Rwanda
Africa
is in its own
it's
category.
by far, absolutely, absolutely.
Within East Africa.
And it's true, because given my experience being in Rwanda for almost 2 years right now, I've never experienced corruption in any sort of way. Not myself, but even people around me, or just being able to see it.
Yeah.
And I think partly because, first of all, they're transparent about it, and the fact that almost everything is digital right now. If someone has to pay a ticket, let's say for speeding, they would actually have to get a receipt and pay with it. They can even do mobile money payment, right? So being able to give money to people, for example, traffics in Tanzania, where they would stop and walk with the bus driver behind and have a conversation and use words such as sijala leo, meaning I haven't had lunch, right? As how you referred it in your book too. I think that way it also creates an environment for that to prosper and keep on progressing, and people hardly report it, so that's also a problem.